The best airgun you'll ever shoot costs less than $300, and you've probably never even heard of it. 5 airguns. Zero hype. All underrated. While everyone's obsessing over the same overpriced names, these guns are delivering better accuracy, better power, and better value. The industry doesn't want you to know about them. Less hype means more money for them. But today, we're blowing the lid off it. Don't buy anything until you've watched this. Gun 1, Crosman Challenger Pre-Charged Pneumatic. Alright, starting things off with a gun that is criminally overlooked, the Crosman Challenger Pre-Charged Pneumatic. Now you might be thinking, Crosman, really? And that right there is exactly the problem. People hear Crosman and they immediately assume we are talking about a $50 pump gun from a sporting goods store. But the Challenger is a completely different animal. This is a purpose-built 10-meter competition rifle. It is approved by the Civilian Marksmanship Program, which means it is designed specifically to help shooters, especially young athletes, compete at a high level. The trigger on this rifle is adjustable and absolutely crisp. The balance is excellent. It shoots .177 caliber pellets with the kind of consistency that even more expensive European guns have a hard time matching at this price point. Here is why it is underrated. Most people in the airgun community are chasing power and hunting capability, so a target rifle that maxes out around 520 feet per second gets completely ignored. But if you care about accuracy, and you should, this gun will teach you more about shooting discipline than almost anything else on this list. You can pick one up for around $300 to $400, which in the pre-charged pneumatic world is basically nothing. This one is a hidden gem, full stop. Gun 2, the Umarex Gauntlet 2. The original Gauntlet had a bit of a cult following, but the second generation is refined. It takes everything that made it good and refines it across the board, and somehow it still flies under the radar compared to big names like Airarms and FX. The Gauntlet 2 is a regulated pre-charged pneumatic, which means the air pressure feeding each shot is precisely controlled by an internal regulator. What that gives you is shot-to-shot consistency that used to cost twice the money. Just a few years ago, we are talking about a gun that can produce 60 to 80 consistent shots per fill in .22 caliber, with velocities that are stable enough for serious pest control and small game hunting out to 50 yards. The reason it is underrated comes down to brand perception. Umarex is known for making airsoft guns and CO2 pistols, so when they put out a serious hunting airgun, the hardcore crowd tends to look the other way. That is a huge mistake. The build quality on the Gauntlet 2 is excellent. The accuracy is there, and the price sits right around $350, which for a regulated pre-charged pneumatic is an absolute steal. If you are on a budget and want to get into pre-charged pneumatic shooting without compromising on performance, this should be near the top of your list. Gun 3, Beeman R9. Okay, let's shift gears. So far, we've been talking about PCP air guns, but not everyone wants to deal with a hand pump or a scuba tank. Some of us just want to pick up a spring piston gun, cock it, and shoot. For that, there is no better underrated option than the Beeman R9. The R9 is a break barrel Springer made by Weihrauch in Germany, one of the most respected airgun manufacturers in the world. But because it is sold under the Beeman name in the American market, it gets lumped in with a bunch of lower-tier guns that Beeman also imports, and it gets overlooked. This is a .20 caliber option, which is itself an underrated caliber, though it also comes in .17 and .22. It's compact, beautifully balanced, and produces around 800 feet per second, with just enough power to be a serious pest control and small game gun out to 35 yards. The two-stage record trigger, which Wyrock is famous for, is one of the best factory triggers you will find on any spring piston gun at any price. The R9 teaches you something important too. Springer accuracy requires technique. You have to learn the artillery hold, meaning you rest the gun loosely in your hands, rather than gripping it tightly, because springers recoil in two directions. Master that, and this gun will reward you with groups that will genuinely impress you. At around $500, it punches well above its weight class. Gun number 4, Airventuri Avenger. Now, if I had to pick one gun on this list that offers the most value for the money, and I mean it is almost unfair how good it is for the price, it would be the Airventuri Avenger. This gun came out and basically broke the budget pre-charged pneumatic market. The Avenger is fully adjustable. You can tune the regulator pressure, the hammer spring tension, and the transfer port, all without any special tools. Most air guns at this price point give you zero adjustability. The Avenger gives you everything. That means you can dial it in for maximum shot count or open it up for maximum power, depending on what you need it to do that day. In .22 caliber, it will push a decent pellet at around 900 feet per second, which is plenty for hunting rabbits, squirrels, and dealing with pest birds. The accuracy out of the box is genuinely impressive, and the build quality, while not in the same league as a European gun, is solid and dependable. So why is it underrated? Honestly, I think it is because it is almost too good for its price, and experienced shooters assume there must be a catch. There is not a big catch. It is just a well-designed gun from a company that made smart choices to keep costs down without sacrificing what matters. At around $300, the Avenger is arguably the best bang for your buck in the entire pre-charged pneumatic world right now. All right, saving one of the most interesting picks for last, the Walther LGV Master Ultra. Now this one is a little harder to find depending on where you are, but if you can get your hands on one, you are holding something really special. The LGV is a German-made break barrel Springer, but it is built on a slightly different mechanical principle than your typical spring gun. It uses a counter-recoil design, where the internal components are engineered to dramatically reduce felt recoil and vibration. What that means in practice is that it shoots smoother and quieter than almost any other spring piston gun you have ever fired. It almost feels like a PCP in terms of the shooting experience, but with no fill equipment required. The accuracy is exceptional. This was originally designed as a 10-meter competition gun before field target shooters discovered how accurate it is at longer distances. In .177 caliber, it shoots around 700 to 750 feet per second. Not the fastest, not the hardest hitting, but it is one of those guns where every single shot goes exactly where you pointed it, and that consistency is worth more than raw power for a lot of shooters. The reason it is underrated is simple. Walther is mostly associated with firearms like the PPQ and P99, so airgun enthusiasts do not always think of them. That is a shame, because the LGV Master Ultra represents some of the best German airgun engineering available, and it is a genuine joy to shoot. Prices vary, but expect to pay in the $400 to $600 range. Money very well spent. Which one interests you most? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.